Here's a story, folks. Venezuela arrests U.S. EU citizens over alleged plots to, it's first 15 seconds of the video, so they take a certain action against President Nicolas Maduro. Venezuela on Saturday arrested 3 United States citizens, 2 Spaniards, and a Czech national over their alleged participation in a U.S.-sponsored plot.
I mean, if that's not a setup for an ethnic joke, I don't know what is.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yes.
2 Spaniards, a Czech, and 3 Americans walk into a coup.
Walk into a coup. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, 3 U.S. citizens, 2 Spaniards, and a Czech national over their alleged participation in a U.S.-sponsored plot to kill President Nicolas Maduro and several members of his government. The arrest of the 6 foreigners, which Venezuelan Interior Minister Diosdado Cabello announced on state TV on Saturday, occurred as the South American country, which descended into political chaos amid a contested election in late July, has seen its relations with Washington, Madrid, and other Western democracies souring. Quote, these groups seek to seize the country's wealth, and we as a government will respond firmly to any destabilization attempt, Cabello said, according to a Reuters report. He added that about 400 rifles originating in the United States had been seized, it said. The U.S. State Department confirmed that 3 American citizens, including 1 Navy service member, are being held in Venezuela, but it rejected any links to an assassination attempt. Any claims of U.S. involvement in a plot to overthrow Maduro are categorically false. The United States continues to support a democratic solution to the political crisis in Venezuela, a State Department spokesperson said, according to several media reports. Maduro, a socialist leader who has been in office since 2013, was presented as the winner of the July 28th Venezuelan presidential ballot, but the government has since failed to provide convincing evidence to mute accusations that the leadership contest was plagued by fraud. The arrest came on the heels of the U.S. Treasury's decision to levy sanctions on several allies of Maduro for having made voting difficult on Election Day and for human rights violations. Relations between Caracas and Madrid were further strained after the Spanish parliament recognized Venezuelan opposition leader Edmundo Gonzalez as the legitimate winner of the July vote. Gonzalez, who last week went into exile in Spain to escape an arrest warrant, was also received by Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez in a diplomatic gesture that further angered Maduro. Man, we really are butthurt about that, man. We really want this country. I don't know why. Yeah. Oh, that's right. I do.
Oil.
Venezuela recalled its ambassador to Spain on Friday and summoned the Spanish ambassador to complain about a Spanish minister accusing Maduro's government of being a dictatorship. During his press conference on Saturday, Cabello argued that the arrested Spanish nationals had links to Spain's Secret Service and were planning the killing of a mayor, a claim that was promptly denied by the Spanish government, according to local media. Okay, so let's take a look at this TV report.
Tema de este armamento cuyo origen, ingreso a Venezuela, viene desde los Estados Unidos de Norteamérica. La forma como ha venido ingresando este armamento tiene mucho que ver con las operaciones que normalmente hace el gobierno de los Estados Unidos por la vía de sus instituciones que funcionan para generar caos o para crear caos, desestabilizaciones en algunos países. Más de 400 fusiles de distinto tipo para ser utilizados aquí en Venezuela. Estos fusiles eran para hechos terroristas, terrorismo promovido por sectores políticos que desde hace algún tiempo vienen surgiendo grupos que en el mundo se ofrecen a liberar a Venezuela. Ellos no actúan solos nunca. Detrás de esos grupos operan organismos de inteligencia de otros países. Sabemos que el gobierno de los Estados Unidos está vinculado con esta operación porque en la investigación hemos llegado, inclusive como en Orlando, Florida, en una de estas servicios de encomienda, los depósitos de los servicios de encomienda, el FBI estuvo allí. Estados Unidos sabe ejecutar operaciones de desestabilización. Y hoy día tenemos capturado, bajo control del gobierno nacional y bajo custodia, siendo interrogados ciudadanos mercenarios que han venido a Venezuela como parte de este plan.
Okay. So I'll be very brief. I'll toss to Russell, who found this story. But imagine our reaction when 400 weapons of war cross into our border from another country. Imagine what our reaction would be to that. You don't have to think very hard for very long.
Right. Yeah, well, this is where, hey, we've covered a lot about that election. And my basic take is I can't tell you that that was a clean election or that it wasn't. I don't know. What I can tell you is that whenever you have a country that not only doesn't bend the knee to the United States, but takes up a different economic system or economic philosophy that the United States perceives as a challenge to the global order that it presides over, you make it basically impossible for these societies to function as open societies because they're constantly under threat of coup by the United States. How can they really just be open societies? So, they're accused of being these repressive states, and then you create circumstances that make it impossible for these states to not up their security measures to the degree that in some cases, I'm not saying that's the case here, but in some cases, they become highly repressive societies. As Keaton has often pointed out when we talk about China, they're surrounded by military bases from a hostile foreign power. What if we were surrounded? They're cracking down on our freedom because fucking student protesters scared them.
Exactly.
What you see how far your freedom of speech goes as soon as student protesters protesting. And now,
and our whole reason to be, the whole ethos of this country is that we are not repressive.
We are
and you
not
see
repressive.
How we get repressive upon such a mild provocation as student protest. Imagine look at those weapons. Look at those weapons. Imagine you had other countries flooding America with those weapons. Just look at that for a second. Just picture this were another country flooding these weapons into here. Just that alone. That alone, you would have a draconian response from this government, which operates on the pretense of freedom and dignity, fallen innocence until proven guilty. Right? So if they flood a country like this with those weapons, and then they take action, and now we're going to say, see, look at the repression under communism. Well, motherfucker, you're trying to overthrow the country. Now you see an image like that. What do you expect to happen?
Right, of course. Well, this is what they do. They accuse them of being a repressive authoritarian country and then create circumstances where you have no choice but to be repressive. Otherwise, you're going to be overthrown. Right. Or the opposition at best is going to back some Western puppet that's going to take out your regime. With the USSR, I can't say what its destiny would have been, but they were at civil war right after they had a revolution. The West was invading Russia to try to overthrow their revolution. So we've made it very clear that if you don't adopt a capitalist economic system or some kind of autocratic or monarchic system that's loyal to us, a la Saudi Arabia, we're gonna fuck you. So at that point, what do? Have an open country, have an open society, just free tourism? And how would you do that when every plane load of tourists is going to contain 10 CIA agents trying to overthrow your government? How can you just have an open society like that?
Please clap.